So Ian, Brit, why the hell are we doing this? You know, this Let's Talk Leadership. We've sat, you know, having conversations about it for a while. We've had various sort of thoughts on it, but why are we doing it? What's really driving us?
Well, one answer is that you started this, and you came to us, and we like the idea, and we trust you to make this one fly. But no, that's a cop out. I think we're all more or less aligned with the idea that the world isn't getting any easier as a place to live in, and it's not getting any easier to lead either yourself or others. And we would love to help by sharing our own experience and possibly getting the experience of other voices in the room, and see what comes out of it. At this stage, I don't know what comes out of it. You don't, no. But I think we are united in the feeling that there has to be more than sitting at home and waffling on about the world without doing anything.
Yeah, and I think also, Brit, it's about being a channel and a way to get out knowledge and wisdom, and to share it with a greater audience, because there are some people in the world who may not know the common sense that we may know, and how can we help them make it more common practice? Because a lot of what we do in the work that we do, with the programs we run, the people we meet, is good stuff, and I think somehow getting it out there a bit more. So we're all learning in this current situation about the challenge of getting messages out there and making it useful. And I think one of my motivations is to help. You know, what can I say? I have an affiliation need. I want to help people, and I think we've got some good stuff here to connect wisdom, and to put it right in the hands of the people that actually, and if you forgive me for saying this, are not too burdened or have too much baggage that many of us have when we're a little bit older. Let's just say in our leadership role. So these younger people, they have a thirst for this stuff as well, without all the blah blah that goes around it and all the complicated corporate speak. That would be something that I would love to help with.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just amazed how quickly time goes by, because, you know, I've spent quite a lot of my life working with younger people, postgraduates, particularly in the food and fresh produce industry. And I mean, I get messages from them now, years later, saying, you know, I found that little bit useful, or I can't remember what we talked about, but I know there was something about this that you mentioned, Matthew. You know, is there anywhere you can point me to, or anything that you can talk to me about? And I just feel that we spend so much time in the corporate world, you know, in all of us, in large organizations and supporting leaders and senior leaders and exec teams, that there's something rather nice and something rather useful about maybe reaching out to a much wider, younger group of people who are going to have to struggle with stuff that none of us have really, you know, needed to struggle with, because our world has been very different to the world that they're inhabiting.
Yeah, I fully agree with both of those views. And you said, Ian, that in our programs we do good stuff, and we do. I honestly believe that we do that, and we hear that we do it as well. Yeah. But it's very often at the level of senior leaders. You know, we support executives, and not just executives, but people at a senior level of leadership. And so it's exactly like you said, Matthew. The aim would be to get that down a couple of levels, the same quality of information and knowledge and experience, but get it down to the younger people who will be faced once we've gone into our retirement homes, with somehow becoming better leaders on this planet. And what can we do to help? Let's ask them.
And I think the whole idea of Let's Talk Leadership is just creating that conversation. And of course, we don't necessarily know what some of these struggles are. So part of this process for us is to reach out to those people probably in a social media type of way, just to get people to tell us. It reminds me, one of the most inspirational women in our business that I've seen in recent years is Brené Brown, and that whole concept of being vulnerable. And she would tell stories about, you know, I'd ask people about, give me your thoughts on love. And they would come back and give the opposite of not being loved. And whenever she would go forward with a positive, people would come back with more of a negative. And I think it's important to have those conversations around the challenges, but also the successes, and just, again, get to hear what's going on. And then we could then maybe connect people who have experience around, well, many topics. Resiliency, it would be one, and how we can connect some of those insights with those people without them having to come through a very expensive training program that one day they may get funded through their business or their own resources. But how do we get to those people when they most need it in the early days, the early years of their career?
Yeah, and if I reflect back on my sort of early career, and certainly when I left school, most of the things I think I had to deal with were either problems or challenges. That, you know, the world was very simple. You need to do this, Matthew, or you need to sort that, Matthew, or you need to learn this, or you need to go away and get a job and get that experience. And it wasn't until I got into actually having, at quite a young age, manage a group of people that I realized it wasn't, that the world wasn't made up of nice things and problem things. There was a whole lot of stuff that you just had to find your way through. You had to sort of try it. If it didn't work, try something else, and hope that you weren't, you know, too sort of pushed back by your experience. And I think actually that sort of need to support that development of, this is not either or, this is helping individuals at different stages in their careers and their lives meet some of those, not the problems, but meet the things that are difficult to define but have to be dealt with. The things for which there are no easy answers, and having an opportunity just to talk about it and to share those ideas and thoughts with other people, whether it be people of their same age or people like us or others, I just think would be something that if I'd had that when I was younger, it would have been hugely beneficial. Hugely beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We spoke about the word equip, didn't we? Equipping younger people in a leadership position. And however we do that, I think it's one of our motivations, is how can we equip people with the awareness, or at least the questions to ask, to tackle some of these challenges, which are going to be much more complex and radically and rapidly changing.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's also the fact that you share and listen to other people who are grappling with the same issues, which is something that we sometimes hear in our programs, that people who haven't met before, just by the fact that they're all together and we're talking to them and they are sharing their experience, they realize that they're not the only ones. And there's a sort of a relief in that when they realize that. And so maybe we could do the same thing on this platform by making people realize that, well, if I'm worried or if I don't know how to make the best decisions quickly, that's not because I'm stupid or too young or not competent or whatever. That's part of the learning curve. It's part of, if I may say it, growing up and getting used to whatever it is that leadership and management are about.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got some challenges. I mean, you know, anything else that sort of gone through our minds about this? Anything that sort of come to mind? Because I'm just sort of reflecting back on, you know, even recently, even with the most recent with the pandemic. You know, some of the clients we've been talking to, all three of us, many of them are just wanting to get back together if they've met each other on a program, or they may not work in the same department or in the same part of the world. They just want to get back together and have a chat to sort of find out how they're doing, share views and ideas. Maybe one of them's come up with a way of doing something that they feel that could be helpful to other people to know about. There is even at senior levels, there is a feeling, certainly in the global organizations that we all work with, that getting together occasionally, like we're doing now, is a really good way of spending a bit of time. You know, whether it just helps us to realize that others are in the same situation, or it puts a smile on our face because someone tells an amusing story, or it's just nice to know that our friends and colleagues still exist, you know, and that even the struggles that they're facing at the moment, they can spend a short time getting together online. So I think if that's true of senior, talented, people who've been in leadership roles for a while, it must be true of the younger generations who use all sorts of different means for communicating, far more than perhaps any of us do. But there must still, I think, be that need just to get together and share some stories, share some ideas, exchange views, perhaps sometimes listen to people who've got some experience or who've got some knowledge and just say, yeah, that might be helpful. Something that just provides them with a resource, if you like, that they can tap into.
Maybe there's an added benefit in this process that in an attempt to equip maybe some of the younger, more entry-level leadership challenges that some of the younger people are facing, we can also benefit the more experienced in terms of years and ages and challenges of leaders in the world through reverse mentoring, and we can connect it in both directions, because maybe there are some myths out there that we can challenge, and what we talk about first of all, and then maybe challenge and say, well, this is really true, particularly in today's world. Because just because dad or the boss or mum says it's true doesn't mean it's relevant anymore. Not in today's world. It's moving so fast.
Good one. One of the things that comes to mind is the job for life. The whole idea that that's you enter somewhere when you're in your 20s or mid 20s, and that's it, and you get a cushy pension. And that's where you are. So the loyalty to one particular organization has completely gone, and vice versa. Also, the loyalty of organizations towards their people has become a lot more flexible, I would say, and that's probably a polite word. So there are lots of assumptions that we may have carried into our current world that frankly sometimes date from the industrial era, I would say, and it's no longer valid, but it's worth testing.
So wouldn't that be a great
exploring what will be next? If that's no longer the current reality, what do we have then?
Yeah. It's almost like a reprogramming process of some of the myths and the beliefs around some of these concepts, because I think most of the leadership insights, the real learnings, the lessons, if you look at lots of what's coming out at the moment, and you think, oh, this is interesting, this is just leadership, it just happens to be more significant in the moment, we have to dial it up a bit more. No shit, that's obviously, right? So let's just do that. But there are other stuff that is actually different, and how do we help people understand that as well, across the generations, different industries, different sectors, the gig economy, the whole concept of jobs for life, loyalty. I have a slight problem with the word loyalty, because I think it breeds dependency and ultimately burden on both sides of any relationship. It's an interesting concept. To talk about some of those topics with people where, what does loyalty mean then in the new future for some young leaders? That would be an interesting conversation.
And if you think we've already started, some conversations with what we believe are interesting people in a whole range of different fields of leadership, whether it's working in India or working with elite athletes, gamification, there's a whole range of sort of people that we've already started to talk to about this. And so, I'm pretty excited. I think we've just got to give it a try, haven't we? We've just got to put it out there. It's going to be called Let's Talk Leadership, and let's just see what response we get. And hopefully we get a massive response. May not, but it doesn't matter.
I hope so. And the thing that I'm going to enjoy is the conversations that we have like this, because if I know anything about my views on leadership, is that they've changed over the years, and they've been influenced by colleagues like both of you and the other people I've met, and of course the people that come through some of the leadership development programs we're involved with, or the coachings that we do. And if we're not able to demonstrate a different perspective and shift our mindset, then what right do we have to be able to help other people do the same? Absolutely. So I hope this process, again, is a two-way process.
Yeah, it would be great to have lots and lots of younger people just joining us in conversations, joining us on blogs, sharing stuff, sharing their experiences, all of that, helping each other, mentoring each other, coaching each other. And we've simply created just one of many, but created a process by which they can do that easily, and we can all learn together. I'm really looking forward to it.
So am I.
We should get busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's do that then. Let's get busy.
Let's talk leadership.
Let's talk leadership.
Let's talk leadership. Cheers.